Welcome to the SheShed. I'm super excited to have you here. As you all are aware, June is Child Awareness Month, and many people don't really realize that that is even a thing. I mean, I'm going to be very transparent in telling you that I didn't know it was a thing until I was putting together this series. But what Child Awareness Month is, it was originally created because they wanted to show and give honor to those individuals or children that died of a violent or horrific death. And later it has been transformed into the month to where we celebrate children and we want to pour into them and to realize and understand that it is our children that is our future. And if we don't create a space for them now, what ends up happening, they become adults with no future. And we don't want that. So I encourage you all to grab hold to a child today and just love on them, pour into them, make them feel as though you really do care. And hopefully you will. So, as you're aware, as we move forward in this, I have decided that I was going to use this part of the She Shed or this month to really focus on childhood trauma and how traumas in our childhood affects us in life as adults. And I have several guests that are coming along to help me share this information. And I'm excited to have my guest tonight. Her name is Bernadette Desir. And I we met because I put a plea out. Actually, I put a plea out and said I need someone that can share their story, that is willing to share their story with us about their childhood trauma and how it's affecting their life. And she raised her hand, and I'm so glad that she did. Um, Bernadette is a Haitian Canadian adoptee, and I'm gonna let her explain to you exactly what that is. Y'all, I had to dig. I was like, "Girl, what that mean?" And when she told me, I thought, "Okay, yeah, we're gonna leave that for the podcast and let the people know." So, Haitian Canadian adoptee. Remember that. She's also the founder of the Unleashing Potentials podcast. She's the mother of two, and in her spare time, and don't ask me where she has spare time because sounds like her life is as busy as most of ours. But in her spare time, she enjoys all forms of art. And I'm going to also hope she will share information about that as well. So, what I want you to do is, I want you to sit back and listen to her story and see where and how it fits with your life and what you can take away and learn from it. So, without further ado, let me bring on Miss Bernadette. Hey, girl. Hey.
Hey, hey,
Welcome into
hey,
the She Shed.
girl, she. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so excited.
Well,
Thank
you
you.
heard the little the brief bio that I gave of who you are, but I just want you, I want to say thank you. Thank you for raising your hand and saying, "Yeah, I'll share my story because people need to know. We need to know what's going on. We all need to work together." So thank you for being a guest in the She Shed. But if you could take a moment and tell the people who you are and what really brings you into the She Shed today.
Yeah, thank you so much for the beautiful introduction. Well, when I saw your post, I had to respond. And I'm the type of person, if someone is doing amazing work in their community and with anything else, I'm in. And my name is Bernadette Desir, as she said. I am from Haiti. I am a Haitian Canadian adoptee. I'll explain it. So I put those three words together so I didn't have to write her a long sentence. So I am from Haiti originally. I was born and raised there. And I left Haiti when I was 14. All right. I had just turned 15 when I came to Canada. And I put the Canadian part because I'm in Canada. That's where I get adopted into. And I'm an adoptee. Um, my story is complex, but I'm gonna shrink it down and spill the tea with you guys and let you know. And I'm so honored and excited that you invited me to do this. I get so giddy and excited. Thank you so much, Tina.
Well,
Thank you.
I am glad that you are here. And I do want to, I want to expose and make it known what it's like to have been raised in Haiti, because that in itself can have its own, you know,
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
traumatic experiences. I
Oh,
was
yeah.
trying to think of the best word to use, but I mean, it is what it is. So, can you
Mhm.
want to talk about that for a moment? What was it like growing up in Haiti?
Yeah, absolutely. It was hard. It was hell and heaven on earth, if I could put it that way. Obviously, I grew up in a poor family. There wasn't enough money to get us to school, money for food to eat. So I have more than five siblings, but by those siblings, I have five. Three of us were put in an orphanage because my mom and dad at the time they couldn't really afford to take care of us. But I'm gonna back up a little bit. Prior to going to the orphanage, I grew up watching my mom um, just struggling as a single mother because my father was having affairs on the side and wasn't really taking care of of his kids, and it was hard for my mom. Everything I learned from life, I would say it's from her. She would get up at 4, 5, 2, 3 jobs just to take care of us. At times, she would late just going to places that she knows she shouldn't, and she did everything she could prior to putting us in the orphanage. I remember she used to sell bread, and very early she had a gun pointed at her head, right, to give
Mhm.
any money that she had during that time. And she did give everything she had. She was very shaken from that, and it took her time to heal from that. And that's when she decided to put us in the orphanage. So it was me and my two siblings. And
And
life in the orphanage,
how old were you when you went into the orphanage?
I think I must have been 10 or 11,
Okay.
roughly around there. But life in the was hard. All right. There was sexual abuse, verbal abuse, and we had nannies. Some amazing ones, some not so amazing that would um, diminish the kids, like their beliefs of what they can achieve or can't. I've been told many, many times, like, I will never mount to anything, do anything. And as a child growing up, hearing all those words, they kind of become me. Like, I felt like I
Mhm.
wasn't gonna mount or be anything or do anything. So yeah, in the orphanage it was hard. There were obviously voodoo's one of the many religions. I've had to deal with that as well because I was born open as a child. Um, Most people don't know what I mean when I say open, meaning I could feel or hear or see things that are not here, if that makes sense. Um, yeah, there were some good times in the orphanage, some bad times. I can't take away completely the good times. Um, but I would say it was a learning experience going up there. I've made some lifelong friendships. Most of the kids, some were in Canada, the ones that when I was in the orphanage with, most of them were in the States. And I had the opportunity to go to Texas twice just to visit and meet them. And each year we have they have a family reunion, they call it.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
getting all the adoptive kids together from
Oh,
anywhere, wherever they're from. If they were at the orphanage, they come together. So I had to go to Texas twice and just to do that. It was amazing. Um, but after moving to Canada from Haiti, that was also a massive culture shock for me. I think it would be for anyone, regardless of what country or borders they cross, right?
absolutely.
I was in a land that wasn't mine. The language was different. Yes, I spoke enough English to get by, but school was different. That one, yeah, that one was hard, right? The system and the classes, everything else was so different. The food, the culture, and how people carry themselves. I had to kind of mold myself to fit in a society that I didn't know how to fit. And
Mm.
yeah, there were, I remember experiencing bullying at school and racial stuff at school that was also shocking for me as well, which added on top of trauma I had there. But I'm gonna back up as from when we get to Canada. I'm gonna speak for myself. I'll leave my siblings out of it.
Okay.
When I got to Canada, um, it was great the first few months, all right, but very quickly things changed with my parents, mostly my mom. There was a lot of abuse. We were locked in a freezer room, no food. um, we learned that she had brain tumor.
Hmm.
So from that, she had operations that it removed and so on, and things were sort of okay but shaky and fragile at the time. And a few months after, it spread through her lungs and everything else. um, because there was abuse and she couldn't take care of us at the time. Social services had to step in, and other authorities, just to decide what to do with the situation that I was in. Um, so through that, I remember seeing her for the last time. She was put in a hospice. Um, I went through foster care, which there were more abuse there, which is something that I don't think we talk enough about. And that's why I want to be a voice. I used to be shy and not really be open to speak about those issues. But because it happened to me, it's happening to other people, other kids. I think we need to talk about it. And that's why I'll never stay, I will not stay quiet. I refuse to stay quiet. There will be those that will want to shut me up, that will ridicule what I have to say and share. But my story is a light to everyone who has been through those, who knows someone who's been through those, right? So foster care, um, my adoption case is called broken adoption. I've shared my adoption story and other stuff on my podcast. That's what it's called, because it's not a domestic adoption, which would mean within the country. It was an international broken adoption. Um, so after foster care, my mom was in hospice. I didn't know where in hospice, which place she was, the location. I ended up moving to where I am right now, which is a difference, probably 10-12 hour difference. It's from the province next to us. You guys have states, we have provinces. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, I moved in with her sister, which would have been my adoptive aunt at the time. From That's where I'm living right now.
Okay.
Um, all I know is my two siblings were left in where we originally moved to, which was Kamloops. My mom was in hospice. I had no clue where, the location of it, how long she's been there. Never heard from my adoptive father. So I moved in with my adoptive aunt, which at the time she was very controlling. I had an adoptive niece from Haiti as well. I knew her from Haiti, and I ended up living with them. Um, I wasn't always open to talk about adoption. And
Hmm.
I'll speak for myself, but I know others can relate. When anyone has been adopted, there's a stigma and a shame that is attached to it, especially from a third world country, even not from a third world country. The stigma that society puts on adoptee is that you were adopted, therefore your parents did not need you, they didn't love you, they passed, they couldn't care for you. In my case, none of those were true. My mom had to sacrifice everything she could to give us a better life. It was a sacrificial love that is hard for a mother. As a mother now, I can only imagine. It's gut wrenching what she had to do, right? So not
Right.
everyone who adopted is some orphan from wherever, whatever people say about adoptees. And to let people know we do carry that shame. So we don't need the validation of the shame. We don't need it to be flashed in front of us to feel it. I carry it every single day from the day I left Haiti. It's been years, 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 years since then, right? we know what's up. We know what
Yeah.
we have to carry,
Yeah.
right? Some of
So
us
can
don't
I?
have.
I want to stop you because I want to address some of the things that you was talking about, and then I want to jump back into the adoption part of it.
Mm-hmm,
Um, so I want to make sure that we're following you. So
mm-hmm,
you were in Haiti. You went to
mm-hmm.
an orphanage or
Yeah.
into okay. So you went into the orphanage. So at this point, had your biological parents were they deceased because you went into an orphanage,
Oh
or was it like a group
no,
home?
they
Okay.
weren't deceased. I still talk to my family today.
Okay.
Um, they and in the orphanage we were in, what one part I love about it is they allowed birth families to come visit. And I remember my adoptive parents meeting my bio family. That's one
Okay.
thing that I love that they did there. So I was
Okay.
still in contact with them then. I
Okay.
lost contact when I left where my mom was, when I went to move in with my adoptive aunt.
Got you. Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. And so then you moved in. You was adopted by a lady, your mom, that then moved to Canada, and then she went into hospice, and that's when you moved in with your adoptive auntie, right? And then you was taught. Do I am I
Sort
following
of
you?
close. Yeah, my adoptive mom, she was already Canadian. She never lived in Haiti. She went to visit
Okay.
us while we were at the orphanage. She already had her home and everything set up for us. And
Okay.
when we moved to Canada, we moved in her home. Uh,
Okay.
she didn't have any other kids, and that's why she adopted the three of us. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't want to
Yeah.
go ahead. You can ask me any questions before I go. Whoo, I can
Yeah.
go
And
pretty
so
fast.
so it's really really cool. I mean, I am the adoptive mom of two girls, so I can
Oh,
relate. I can relate.
yeah.
It's hard because you're often torn between your biological and your adoptive family, and trying
Hmm.
to make sure that you can get lost. Your feelings and emotions can really get lost in that because
Yeah.
you're trying to appease everyone and you can't.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then,
Yeah.
like you said, I love how you put that you walk around and you have this shame and guilt because you don't really know how to deal with the emotions. So can we pick up there and
Yeah.
let's talk about that.
Oh, shame and guilt surrounding adoption.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, with the shame and guilt, it didn't happen until later on, until I adapted to the culture I'm in, right? Until I learned more about adoption, until I saw what people were saying about adoption, whether it
Hmm.
was on TV, social media, what they were saying about local adoption, what they were saying about Haiti. Until then, I was a happy kid and
Right.
there was no filter. I was open and I was in love with everything, everyone. I was in love with my broken scars from where I'm from. There was no shame. But when I saw what people were saying about adoptees and adoption, it did impact me. Not because I necessarily believed what they were saying, because it wasn't my truth to believe. I
Right.
believe my own truth. It wasn't my job to believe what they believed, right? But at some point, it weighed heavy on my heart, on my mind. And there was a type of sadness that kind of dwells in my soul, if that makes sense. It's the sadness that was new. It was foreign to me. That's what I mean. Did I answer
Hmm.
your question?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think sometimes we miss it. We just think, well, I can only imagine because I'm not adopted. I have adoptive children. And I think sometimes I even laugh with my youngest daughter because some of the things that she's saying, she was like, oh, I forgot you didn't have me. So I love that she has that, but I can only
Hmm.
imagine that there are individuals who, don't feel that way and they feel the burden of it all. And I know that that's not where we're settling, but I just thought it was very interesting that you brought that up and it gave
Hmm.
me a different view for my
Hmm.
own family
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah, I had to bring it up because it's gonna tread along very nicely to what I have to continue sharing when it comes to trauma.
Okay.
Because trauma is, it's like popcorn. It's everywhere. There's different branches of it. There's layers of it. There's different severity of it. Some traumas are good. Some are so
Mhm.
good because they help us become who we are supposed to be, versus
Absolutely.
what people think, or how we should conduct ourselves in society, right?
Absolutely.
Um, yeah. Do you have any more questions before I carry on?
Yeah, go for it. Go ahead. I wanted to ask you. One of the questions was, how has the trauma, what has it taught you? But I think you're going to dive into many of the questions that I really do have. So go for
Yeah, yeah. So, um, when I was living with my adoptive aunts, um, I had no contact with my adoptive mom and even birth mom at the time. What she did with my adoptive niece that she adopted, she would shed or throw away pictures of her family, her bio family in Haiti. So she tried to do the same with me. Her idea was that if someone is adopted, I'm your mother, so you don't have any other mother. You don't, not,
it.
no one
Mm,
else existed, whether they're your blood or not. So she tried to do that with me, and I rebelled and I fought. I'm like, no. And I couldn't have friends over at her house. She had one bio daughter and my niece in the house and me, right? I couldn't have friends. I couldn't do certain things. I had to be home at a certain time. She would tell me not to get pregnant all the time. Guess what I did? I did exactly what she told me not to do because she kept
mm,
pushed and pushed and pushed, right? Um, I guess it's called rigid rules. As parents, yes, we must set boundaries. We must protect our kids. We need to set limits and borders or whatever you may call it. But
right.
there are different circumstances or situations where we must allow room for growth and a learning experience as parents, because
Absolutely.
it benefits both the parents and the child, right? So I didn't have any space. I was suffocating in rules and what to do and who I shouldn't be, and be I was constantly reminded where I'm from and so on.
Mm,
So she tried to deport me to Haiti twice, and I went. She couldn't do anything other than buying ticket or two-way tickets, because then I was already a Canadian citizen,
mm,
right? So she couldn't do that. So I went, and I went back to the same orphanage to visit and so on. The current person that was the director of the orphanage, there was sexual abuse there as well. And yeah, that one, I've healed from it, but it wasn't expected how it happened, because when I went back, her wife was in the orphanage and kids, and it was just shocking. And it took me time to understand what happened, right?
mm,
Yeah, I can tell you have
mm.
questions.
Yeah, I'm listening. I'm absorbing. Like it's so many things to unpack, but I want you to get through your story because I know that it's so much that needs to be said. But it's just, I again couldn't imagine.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Um, so during living with her, I went back twice. I came back and I didn't go back again. And I was I was going through high school. I was in grade 11, and um, I met, when you go to a country, you find people who's from your hood in Haiti or in whatever country, like you click, right? I met a
Right.
mutual friend, and then I started seeing a guy. He was much older than me, and I got pregnant at 18.
Okay.
So I did exactly what she told me not to do. It wasn't so much a disrespect for her. I was grieving. I was grieving leaving my country, and an adoptive mother who I sort of didn't really know, other than having her name or, you know, whatever else she had. And then I foster care and
What do
everything
you mean you
else.
didn't know her? How long were you with your adoptive mother?
Um, not, I mean, it was a few years in Haiti. she would come to visit. Okay, those would be a week or just very small interactions.
Got
And
you.
then when we moved to Canada, it was like a year or something. All right.
Oh,
It takes longer to get to know someone, really know
absolutely.
someone. All right.
Absolutely.
It's longer than a year. Even over 10 years, there could be shocking stuff. You're like, what?
Like,
So that's what I mean by that, right? Because I still didn't know some extended families of hers, and not everyone approved of her adopting kids from Haiti or adoption at all. She couldn't have kids. She was in her 50s. She just didn't, right?
okay.
Yeah. So to go back, when I got pregnant in high school, grade 11, I was supposed to go to grade 12. Um, and then I was still living with my aunt. Not for long though. So during exams, I was feeling sick and nauseous, blah, blah, blah. I went to see a doctor and he confirmed that I was pregnant. And the first thing that the doctor did was referred me to abortion clinic.
Mm,
They didn't say much, right? Obviously, they said you're still young, blah, 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 all that stuff. Um, so that was a very hard season as well because here I was alone. I didn't have family here, two siblings that lived so far away from me, hours and hours away. Um, no support. Um, and I haven't been in Canada for that long prior to that time.
right.
Um, so I went to the abortion clinic, I believe the week after seeing the doctor, and I couldn't go inside.
Hmm.
I tried to open the door. It's like I felt everything everyone in there was feeling, whether there were nurses or doctors or patients. And as I was holding the door, a lady was walking out and she looked like someone had died. Like she was suffering. Her face and everything else, I just couldn't. So I went back in, I sat on the sidewalk at the entrance of the clinic. And I just sat there. I was crying, thinking, what am I going to do? Right.
Right.
And I pace and walk back and forth. I was in freak out mode, like freak out mode, right? I wasn't violent or anything. I was in my own head and in
Correct.
agony. Um,
Mm,
so I said to myself, I will have this child, even if it kills me, even if whoever disagree or agree. I know that I'll have to live with my decision till the day I die, and it will be mine alone to make. So I kept my daughter. She's 13 now. She's my height. She looks like people say, "Is this your sister?" I said, "No." And I'm so young. People ask, "How?" Right? So I kept her, and it's the best decision I've made in my entire existence. And I knew maybe God. I know God was with me. Not maybe He was. Um, I would have regretted if had I gone through it, right? Again, that goes to abortion, which is a very complex topic for so many, right? I won't even
yes.
go into it, but that's what I had to decide what I wanted to do at the time.
Well,
Um,
I'm
yeah,
glad that you made a decision that was best for you. So often, as women, and like you said, it's not a subject that we're going to go into right now because we could
mhm,
be here all day.
yeah,
But so many are in a position to where they can't make that decision. They're not
mhm,
allowed to make that decision. And I'm glad that you had the opportunity to decide what was best for you. So I'm,
Thank you,
if it
thank,
matters, proud of you for your decision because it was
thank
what was
you,
best for you.
thank you. Yeah. So I was with my ex at the time, for 4 5 years, 4 years ish, and we had to split. And the whole time when I was with him, obviously, I felt degraded, judged, not good enough, that I could have done better, kind of very controlling in a way. Um, so it wasn't good. I had to split with him, and there was cheating and other stuff. And through all of that, because I had just finished grade 11, I went to a college to upgrade, to try to get my diploma, which I did. Um, while I had her as a toddler, between busing and daycare and studying and all of that. So I did that. And the split between me and my ex, I think that's what got my mental illness stuff going at the time. I still have them, but it's not as bad, because I wasn't allowed to see my daughter, and she was just a toddler at the time, right? He has the person seeing now was the same person, that was involved in the relationship while the breakup was happening. So there was a lot of hurtful stuff that
Absolutely.
could have been prevented. So they use her as a way to hurt me. Let's just put it that way, as many parents may have faced, right? Custody battles. Those are ugly ones, and I don't wish on anyone to fight them. But unfortunately, too many of us have to fight them. Whether we're exhausted or not, we love our kids and we will do anything for them. And that's what I had to do. I
Absolutely.
fought and fought. I couldn't see her, and I had to go to court back and forth throughout years and years. And it got to a point I had to get restraining orders because I was getting stalked, harassed online, offline, changed my phone number. So my mental health, that's when it started. All right. Um, I was just in agony. I lost the very thing that I'm breathing for, which was my child at
Mm,
the time. And there
wow.
was a lot of anger, a lot of hate towards them for doing that. Um, I've never been a violent person. Had I been, I wouldn't be talking to you today. I would be behind bars. I had to control myself because I had to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I wanna go back a little bit. I don't want to go, I don't want to go too far back, but it's just interesting that you're saying how as an adult you found yourself in a situation or in a relationship to where you were being mistreated, misused, mishandled. There was a lot of infidelity, but that is exactly what you experienced or witnessed as a child.
Yes. Yes. You're right.
Yeah.
It's like karma. It repeats itself in a different form.
Hmm.
And because I've experienced those, I'm single right now. I am not looking to mingle because there's shit in the dating pool. I I can't trust men because I didn't have a male role model. My father was a whore. Like literally, I have half siblings that I don't know their name, I don't know their age, I don't know where in Haiti they are, where in the world they are, right?
Hmm.
So nothing was modeled to me. I had to raise myself to the woman I am today.
Yeah.
And when it comes to relationship with men, it feels strange. It feels weird. I don't know what's wrong, what to say, but yeah, it all comes together in one beautiful package, right? The whole trauma. It starts, it eventually with different layers. It keeps happening and happening. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's just key. I mean, like we can dive into the whole dating shenanigans that's out there in the world, but
Girl, I told you I got
the
a story.
like I think we all have a story as it relates to that. But I'm
Yeah.
just, but it's just amazing to me and how I think it's very important that we identify and we put words to it. This is
Mhm.
what you experienced growing up. And here you are as an adult experiencing similar situations. And a lot
Mhm.
of times I find that women stay in these abusive and toxic relationships because that's what they saw as a child. That's
Yeah.
what they
Yeah.
grew up
Yeah.
with. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if
You're
you
right.
had to, yeah, so if you had to give, I guess one example, because I'm sure you have many, but if you could give one example of what trauma has actually taught you, what would you say it taught you?
Ooh, that's $1 million question. Um, when looking back now, I think my trauma. I used to hate it, and I used to tell it what it does to me. Now I can say what it has done for me. And because of what it has done for me, through me, I can help others heal with trauma, right? It has taught me to not quit because I've never been a quitter. Even as a child, I've had to parent myself to learn many different things. And it has taught me that I can heal it
Mm.
because I didn't think that I could heal it back then or even recently, right? I'm like, I'm stuck like this. What am I going to do about this? Right. And I'm reading different books, I'm listening to different podcasts and other amazing, incredible work. It's like, holy, I have the power to choose how I use this pain, the pain that I'm feeling. It has taught me to keep going and to
Oh,
keep fighting. And through that fight, I want to help other people learn to fight because we are all fighters. We've fought lots of wars, lots of battles within ourselves, around ourselves. We fought with friends, families, beliefs. I don't know, you name it. People bicker about the silliest things. It
yes,
cracks me up,
yes.
right? So it's just making it a enjoyable process and making the journey a one that can impact others and help them transform.
Mm.
Because if we have a broken limb, we get casket and cast and other stuff to use. It's very similar to a spiritual, a soul, or physical um, damage. I use the word damage doesn't mean that that person is damaged, meaning that there are things they have to straighten out to get access
Mm.
to the trauma they're hiding. Because most of us, I know in my experience, I protected my trauma at all cost, protected it. I would fought. I would not talk about it. Anyone who triggered me, they were out of the picture. If people mention therapist, goodbye. If family brought it up, I'm not talking for 2 weeks. No, no. If they keep bringing it up, I'm not related to you, right? We do things like this sometimes naturally, sometimes we don't know if we do it. It's a way of protecting ourselves, right?
That is true. That is true. So if there was a woman or man, because we have both male and female that would be watching this episode, but if you have someone that is trying to heal through their trauma, what advice would you give them now that you are on the other side of the trauma? What advice would
Mhm.
you?
Ooh, I love that question. Um, I would tell them to take their time because life is not a race. Our pain is a message. It's a very delicate one that we must treasure at all cost. And we must not compare our pain, our trauma with anybody else. And
Absolutely.
that's the very thing most of us do. When we do that, we give their trauma a voice for them versus giving our trauma a voice for ourselves. We
Mm.
must find what is it that traumatized us. If I don't know what I'm working with, then it's a mess. Example, when I started my hey, I want to start a podcast. Okay, people talk about niche. I'm like, what the hell is a niche? I just have a story, right?
Right.
You got to find which category, what it is that is triggering you. And once you find that, you're going to delicately work with it. Don't rush to heal your trauma
That's right.
uh, because healing takes time. It's very, very freaking painful, and we don't like the pain. We'd rather feel physical pain than the actual pain
Mhm.
um, on a soul level or spiritual level. It's very, very painful. Uh, just learn to endure through the pain and give it a voice. Give your trauma a voice. What do I mean by that? Write, sing. You don't have to be a professional singer. I paint. Listen to music, dance, laugh, spend some time by yourself. Don't get too much in your head, though. I've done that.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah. We have to be
I'm
careful
like,
of
I
that.
want time by myself. And then where do I spend all my time? In here versus in the heart, right? It's having a balance. And when it comes to trauma, as you can see in my case, it can repeat itself. Learn where to set boundaries.
What does a boundary look like to you?
Oh, girl, I've had so many. Set boundaries with family. Example for me. Um, there's certain times that I'm not going to talk on the phone. I don't care who messaged me. That's a boundary for my physical, mental wellness. Because at
Absolutely.
that time, my phone needs to be off. If someone, I told my sister, hey, girl, you live 8 hour plus away. If you have an emergency, call 911. I am not your dispatcher, right? It's learning to set that because family members, they can break that boundary, right? It's just learning to set that. Ooh,
Yeah.
my laptop's gonna die. Can I grab the charger?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Ta-da! I can keep talking with you guys.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can keep talking. Things happen. We just life in here.
Yay!
This is what we do in the She Shed. We just have life. It happens.
Oh, yeah, I go with the flow.
Yeah. So you said that, you're right. I love
Yeah,
what you just
questions.
said.
Jeez, I talk.
I love what you just said about, having those boundaries and setting those boundaries. And sometimes the hardest people, but let me ask you, who do you feel is the hardest to set boundaries with? Could you hear me?
Families. Yeah, I hear you. It's hard to set them with family. I know
Hmm.
it's not just for me because they're related to us, we feel inclined to put up with their shit. Right? We love them so much. We don't want to hurt them. We don't want to push them away. But when is enough? My enough
Hmm.
got me in a psych ward in hospital. It got me crying at night. It got me hurting and feeling chest pain and having panic attacks. Right? When is enough, right? And another important boundary to have when it comes to healing for anybody is to learn to set them for yourself, with yourself, by
Absolutely.
yourself, because some of us, I used to be one of those people, okay, just hang around and waiting for people to come fix my shit, to fix me. And I realized no one's coming, sweetie. No one's coming. They're saying,
Nope.
hey, hi, how's your day? And that's it. I'm home, like I'm alone, right? So I had to learn to set my own personal boundaries. An example would be, mental boundaries. When I find my mind saying, I'm not good enough, I'm this, I'm that, I'm like, no, look at everything I'm doing. Look how I'm helping and inspiring people. Those are lies. Those are not true. It's realizing those
Absolutely.
lies, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. I love that you are being honest and transparent and true because so often we don't do that. So
Hmm.
I know that you have a new podcast called the Unleashing Potentials podcast. So can you tell the people where they can find it, how they can listen to it, and what it's about?
Yes. So my podcast, it focuses on healing because that's what I had to do. That's what I'm still doing. And I'm on a mission to spread love, to spread hope, light, and life. So many of us are walking around like zombies. We're not enjoying our true calling. We're not enjoying life. We're just getting by.
Mm,
So, my
mm,
podcasts, I want to obviously always promote healing, but give people a little push, like a
yeah.
toddler walking. Sometimes we need that little nudge or reminder. And on my podcast, I talk about my story, my journey. I've shared my mental health journey and adoption story and so many other stories. But my podcast focuses on also storytelling.
Okay.
Um, I let people share their stories. I don't tell them what to talk about, when and how or where. I don't care. Whatever they want to share, they can come share it. And
Good.
people can find me. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. They can find me on Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, Spotify. Those are a few I can think of. And
Okay.
they can find me
I
on
will make
Facebook.
sure. Yeah, I'll make sure to put it in the show notes. But one of the things that you just said, and I want to make sure that we expound on for like 2.5 seconds, as I say, is
Yes.
when you said, we can't walk in our purpose because of all the healing and the trauma. Can you give us a little bit of what you mean by that?
Okay, is it not walking in our purpose? Is that is that what you
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
Yes. Obviously it's different for everybody. In my situation, how I was raised was to follow the rules, to behave, to be kind, to be nice, to be respectful, and to listen to my elders, which I did. Right? Um, and I kept that, throughout the years as I was growing up and sometimes now, right? So my choice silence because it wasn't being heard, not being many of us, we deal with guilt, shame, low self-esteem, all of that. It can add to it. um, it's to surrender, to have the willingness to engage and accept who we are, and who we are may not always please people. All right.
True.
When I started my podcast, I lost people I thought were friends, but they were never friends. If when I opened my chapter, my book, my journey, they shut me out. Those
Exactly.
people were there for a season. That's what I mean. I hope that answers your question.
It does. It does.
It's
It
to
does.
not, yeah, to not close your gifts because of what others may think of you, of how they
Absolutely.
see you. I did that for so long, so
Yeah.
long, until very recently, right? That's how we can close and hinder ourselves.
Well, I'm glad that you are now walking in your purpose. I'm glad that you are living and a living, healing
Mm,
vessel of yourself. And,
mhm,
I believe that healing continues. It does not, it's not a one shot wonder. So I
mhm,
continually send good thoughts your way that your journey will continue. And if you'll hold on one
mhm.
second, I'm going to close out and then I want to talk with you. So hold on for me. Okay, y'all. Y'all heard it straight, no chase, as we say. And what Bernadette shared was a lot of what I see a lot of women going through. We see something in our childhood and we live it in our adult life. And then we're trying to figure out, why am I going through this? Because this is what you was exposed to. This is what you was told was normal. This is the trauma that you have become normal in your life. So being around individuals who don't value what you say, who don't encourage you to be more of what you can be. If you're around individuals who mishandle you, you begin to think that is the way of life. And I hope that in this episode, what you saw was this is not, that is not the life that you have to live. You don't have to do that. We also have to make sure, because we're talking about child awareness, that we're not exposing our children to things that we don't want them to see as norm. I I will say, and I will say it clear, and I might get pushback, but y'all know I don't care. If you are in a situation, and if you are in a situation, if you are physically in a situation that you would not want your daughter to be in, baby, why are you in it? If you are with a man that you wouldn't want to raise your son, why are you with him? Because what you expose your children to is exactly what they're going to grow up thinking is normal. And it's important for us as women to stand strong and stand firm on what we truly believe. Remember, you are the boss, you are the CEO of your own life. You have the opportunity to promote, demote, and terminate anything and anyone that you want to. And you can do it without reason. One of the other things I love that Bernadette said was she set boundaries. Girl, set some boundaries. If y'all know me well enough, you know my boundaries got boundaries because I can get weak sometimes. So I had to put boundaries in place so that my boundaries wouldn't check out on me. All right. So I encourage you to do the same thing. But in celebration to Child Awareness Month, I encourage you to find a cause that focuses on the future of us. That is our children. Maybe you want to volunteer at a nonprofit. Maybe you want to make a donation. Maybe you want to become an advocate. Whatever it is that you want to do to change the life of a young person, remember, you are speaking to that young girl on the inside of you every time you help another child. And I expect, and I'm intentionally asking you to be kind to you and be the CEO of your own life. I love you all, and I'll see you next week.